Am I the a-hole for losing my temper at sister-in-law after she ruined the meal I made? Plus update. My sister-in-law Ashley is, for lack of a nicer word, obnoxious. She constantly does whatever she wants, even when you ask her not to. She thinks she's right above everyone else, even when she's dead wrong. And she's just got this very stereotypical baby sister attitude, where she acts like she can do whatever she wants and nobody's allowed to be mad at her because she's baby. Yes, that's something she regularly says. My husband says she's the youngest of their family, so her acting that way is normal. But I pointed out I'm the youngest of my family, and I've never acted that way. I don't like sister-in-law, but I've been polite and kept a peaceful relationship for my husband's sake. Until today. Today was the first time since 2019 that my husband or I have been able to see our small friend group in person. We all got our shots 2 months ago. I decided to meet up finally for dinner. I cooked while our friends either pitched in ingredients, made appetizers, or brought wine. I made some pasta ravioli by hand, which was hard. I made enough for me, Hubs, and our friends. But after they arrived and we all caught up while I was finishing the food, sister-in-law showed up. She let herself in and greeted everyone happily. They know her and said hi, but I subtly asked Hubs what she was doing here. Turns out, he'd mentioned the gathering to her, and I guessed she assumed she was invited? I told him to tell her to leave, because she can't just invite herself like this. He said that would be humiliating for her, and asked if she could stay. I was annoyed, but agreed. Things were fine at the start. I had a few sips of wine to relax and was about to plate everyone's food at the kitchen island and bring it to them, but forgot Parmesan, so I went to get it. I heard sister-in-law say she'd help bring the food to the table. I said no thanks and to stay seated. My back was to her, and she said something I missed because of the loud clang of a pot hitting the floor. I heard everyone gasp, and I closed my eyes. I knew it happened, but didn't want to look. When I did, I just started crying. Hours of work splattered on the floor. Sister-in-law said it was okay, that it was just pasta, I'll buy more. I lost it. I called her a stupid witch that ruined the entire dinner because she refuses to listen. She started boo-hooing, and I told her to shut up and leave. She ran out crying, and I sat down to cry too. Our friends consoled me, but husband tried to say I went too far. But our friends told him he was an a-hole and sister-in-law wasn't wrong. They helped clean and we ordered pizza. But after they left, Hubs and I were flooded with calls from his family saying I was a horrible spoiled brat who made their baby cry over some stupid food. Now I'm just crying and feeling like garbage. Did I go too far? I don't usually get so angry or curse. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Hubs said he understands I'm upset the food was wasted, but he doesn't think my outburst was warranted. It was actually kind of extreme. Tomorrow's his off day, and I told him he's going to be making the dish like I did, by hand and on his own, and then at the end we'll see if he thinks my outburst was unwarranted. Now for the top comments before reading the update. You're the a-hole, but justified a-hole. From her perspective and her brother's, your husband's, you went nuclear. She's highly entitled and been brought up this way. You can't change her. And from your story, her family still continues to encourage her. Maybe she's clumsy. Maybe she spilled it on purpose. But either way, you're not going and spoil the food. This may not be your hill to die on, but if you're glamorous and being the baby, play along. Oh no, no wine for you, you're still a baby. No thanks, I don't need help. This is a big girl thing, maybe when you're bigger. Sorry, this dinner's for grown-ups and you're a baby. I'm incredibly petty though. This actually made me smile a bit. Thanks. Part of me really wants to do that to her. See how long she lasts before she throws a tantrum. Well, if she throws a tantrum, that typically means the baby needs to go down for a nap, or maybe a bottle. Made their baby cry? She needs a serious wake-up call. And if she cried over it, then good. She needs to get some consequences. My kid's sister is the youngest, and she's mature, thoughtful, and courteous. There's no reason for sister-in-law to be doing this. Not an a-hole. Not an a-hole. You overreacted in a moment of high temper, but she inserted herself into a dinner uninvited, disregarded the hostess's wishes, and then downplayed her disaster. You had every right to be upset, and she decided to then turn the family against you. She's the a-hole. I don't usually flip out like that. I'm very level-headed, but seeing my hours of hard work dumped on the floor just broke me. Update. Welp, Hubs made pasta for the first time today. and it went much like I'd anticipated. He was all confidence that it'll be easy during the first 30 minutes. But towards the end of the first hour, that disappeared as the burn in his arms really set in from making enough dough for almost 60 ravioli. I did not lift a finger to help him knead, since I didn't get any help when I did it. After the dough was done and wrapped up in the fridge, he made a filling, which took another 40 or so minutes. Then the dough was brought out and he had to start crafting the ravioli, all by hand after rolling the dough out. Lord, that went on for ages. Just rolling some dough out, cutting out squares, filling them and putting the top on, rinse and repeat until the dough and filling was all gone. All in all, the entire process from start to finish for him on his own took a little over 4 hours. That's with us not actually cooking any of the ravioli. Also, didn't make any sauce or cook any shrimp for the ravioli to be served in/with. Also, he didn't prepare any salad to go with it. And when I told him this, that there was still more to do, he almost started crying. He started saying sorry at the 1 hour mark and he hasn't stopped apologizing since. We had a long talk about his sister and the dinner she ruined, and the other time she spoiled similar incidents. There's a lot. And how him and his family always let her get away with it. He says he knows how they treat her isn't normal and he doesn't like it, but was raised to just go with the flow regarding Ashley. But he said he's going to call her and tell her we need some space from her now. More update. Hubs just got a message from his cousin of Ashley laughing and bragging about intentionally spilling the pasta to teach me a lesson for being such a snobby witch. A handful of you all thought she did it on purpose, but I didn't actually think she did until hearing her admit to it. I have never seen my husband this pissed off before. I don't know what's going to happen now. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for breaking up my brother and his girlfriend? My brother has been quite financially successful in life. He's been dating his girlfriend, Gia, for about 2 years now, but she honestly earns probably 10% of what my brother makes. However, they split costs evenly on everything, which would of course be fine, except that my brother wants her to move in with him and pay rent. I've become pretty good friends with GF, and she told me she was upset because my brother wants her to pay half the mortgage and utilities, etc., which she absolutely cannot afford as it's a very expensive house. This isn't a one-time issue either. My brother has developed champagne tastes, but expects her to pay half the costs of these tastes that she literally cannot afford. They both then came to me about it together, because I think they felt I was a neutral party in some ways. Basically, I was blunt with them. I said they need to discuss financials, and that any healthy couple would have to confront how to approach earnings if they want to continue long-term. Either A, my brother needs to shoulder more cost, or B, they need to spend less, including on housing. My brother made it clear those were not options he would accept. So I said the simplest solution is not move in together, but they'll need to address this issue at some point, or accept they're not actually expecting to be together long-term. Basically, GF took the last point to heart and felt that my brother wasn't serious about a relationship if he couldn't compromise on the issue. And now my brother is furious with me and told our family broke them up by telling GF to date a guy who will spend money on her. My family's now pissed at me too, and brother calls GF and be gold diggers. I'm a lawyer and earn the same as husband for context. Here's especially where I think I'm the a-hole. I told brother the only one who cares about marrying someone with money is him. And he's the greedy gold digger who will never be happy because he cares more about money than people he loves. I hate that I said that, because my point with GF wasn't even the money. It was that brother created an impossible situation for GF and refused to compromise or be flexible, which is necessary for a lasting relationship. Family is demanding an apology for everything, so now I'd really appreciate a third-party opinion on whether I'm the a-hole or if I have a warped view on relationships and finances. Not the a-hole. Good for you looking out for the GF. I hope she finds someone better. Agreed, but OP, who told your family what happened? You or him? Because if he was the one who told your family, he lied. Or at the very least spun what happened to make himself sound better. Don't accept this. Fight back. Go around to the family and ask them what your brother told them, and then tell them the truth. Unless your entire family is like your brother, they shouldn't all be on his side. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. At all. Don't you dare apologize. Your brother and GF came to you for advice. You gave them excellent advice which the GF took to heart. Then brother misrepresented your contribution for sympathy from others. Your brother sounds like a shallow, materialistic person, and everything you said to him is totally correct. Stand your ground. Not today, Hall. You're absolutely right. Your brother is so concerned with avoiding gold diggers that he's insisting his partner drown financially trying to keep up with his expensive tastes. Either he should have split costs proportionally or lowered the living costs to meet her level. If he wants a more expensive place/restaurant/etc., he should be willing to cover the extra. His own behavior and refusal to compromise is what ended the relationship. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister to get over the sexist mix-up of her twins' names? My sister is really upset, but honestly, I don't know what I did wrong. She had her twin boy and girl in November of 2020. She named them unisex names. Peyton is the boy and Mike is the girl. I never really thought much of it and didn't think it was a big deal. My sister, however, gets extremely upset when people mix up the twins' names. She told me she got upset at the nurse that called them into one of their first doctor's appointments because she assumed Peyton's name was Micah and vice versa. I raised an eyebrow at that, but didn't say anything. Since then, she's gotten into countless dumb arguments about the mix-ups. Some I've been present for. For example, once my friend was over at my house when my sister stopped over with the twins, and when my friend and I were holding them and I had told their names, she accidentally called Micah Peyton when she was complimenting her. My sister audibly sighed loud and made a big show of taking her baby and saying that she hates that people are so sexist and mix up her kids' names. A friend and I were so confused, but we just brushed it off because she left soon after and laughed about it. This happened yesterday, when our old grandmother was over at our house and accidentally thought Micah was named Peyton. My sister snapped at her rudely and I got mad. I told her to not get upset our almost 90-year-old grandmother mixed up her great-grandchildren's names. My sister said it's dumb, that the names are unisex, and if she clearly states who's who, then people need to call them the names accordingly. I told her it's an innocent mistake and not meant to be malicious. She said it's sexist, and that she hates that people are constantly making that mistake and brushing it off like it's not harmful. I told her to get used to it, because it's probably gonna happen for the rest of their lives and to stop complaining, and that since they're twins, their names will always be put together and people will assume the more feminine name is the girl's and the more masculine name is the boy's. She said that thinking is sexist and I'm a Nahal enabler. Now for the top comments. Okay, so if your sister is so adamant that they're unisex, then why would you think it's sexist if they call the wrong one the wrong name? She either obviously and on purpose named them backward to be woke or make a point, or they're unisex, and in that case, it's acceptable and expected that some people will confuse them, as either name could apply to either child. They can't be both unisex and wrong sex applied at the same time. And second point, I call my kid the dog's name, and the dog my kid's name, and they're not even the same species. Right? The sister is arguing against her own logic. She did this on purpose. Also, I can't tell how many times my parents have said a wrong name by accident. Sometimes they call me my sister's name, but every once in a while they go through the whole family, including my brothers. It happens. Not the a-hole. She knew what she was doing when she chose those exact names, and it almost seems like she's taking some pleasure in the fact that she gets to huff and puff and correct people with their horrid sexist attitudes. I'm actually shocked people think that, because honestly, I've heard both names used as boy and girl names. We live in California. I'm not sure if it's regional or not. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not offering to house my sister's family in my new, huge house? I'm male 31, am single and child-free. For the past few years, I've been house hunting, and during 2020 was offered to buy my great-grandmother's farmhouse. It's about an hour away, almost 80 years old, needs a lot of tender loving care and comes with about 15 acres. Originally I declined, but my grandma offered it at a steal to keep it in the family. The price was worth the land alone, and I loved the idea for storing it, so I said yes. The house has 6 bedrooms, which sounds like a lot, but they're actually very small. The plan is to turn 4 rooms into 2 rooms and a bath, 1 room kept as the master, and the 6th room is actually the dining area that will become a part of the living area. The one great thing is the kitchen is huge and has an outdoor extension like a mudroom. I've recently started construction on the rooms, and have gotten some odd reactions from my family. My mother believes I should have kept the house as is, and when I pried, she admitted she thought I'd offer the house my sister's family. My sister, female 34, has 3 kids, female 11, female 9, and male 3, and a deadbeat ex-husband. They divorced after her 3-year-old was born and my sister moved in with my mom. Our parents are divorced, so Dad is not a part of this. My sister's husband moved back to his family's state and only sees the kids a few times a year. The child support is not much because he has a low-paying job. My mom's house is a 3-bedroom. My nieces share a room while my nephew sleeps with his mom. My sister has a job and could rent her own apartment, but wants to save up money instead. My cousin's son, male 15, has started staying as well and sleeps on the couch as his family life is not all that great right now. The house is cramped, but my mother refuses to ask her to leave, and they have started making passive-aggressive comments about me being single and alone in such a huge house. When I asked my sister, she also admitted that she expected to at least be offered to live with me. I told her it's an hour away from her job at school. Why would she want to? She then said she would make the drive to work and change the kids' schools. I told her I won't have the space, and now it has become a fight. My sister got my great-grandma involved, and now my grandma told me I should let them live with me because the house is family property. Now even my 15-year-old cousin is asking about staying with me. So am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. One is never responsible for their family situation. You are not obligated legally or morally to house your family. Stick to your guns, because if you let them in, they may never leave. And the sister expected Opie to at least offer for the sister's family to move in, meaning she also had some wild expectation that with some luck, Opie would offer the entire house outright. Opie, your sister would take over your house if you let them anywhere near it. Continue with what sounds like really awesome renovation plans, and whistle away from your mom and sister when they start up the discussion again. Not the a-hole. Once you bought the house, it was no longer family property. It's your property and you get to decide who lives there. Not the a-hole. If it's family property, they can start covering up money for rent, renovation, and taxes. Your family is apparently full of entitled losers. If I were you, I'd sell the house honestly, and tell them it's because they won't stop bothering you. Am I the a-hole for telling my son the truth about why my wife stopped talking to her parents? Her parents always looked down on me, and I can somewhat understand why, given my past and how me and my wife met. At 23, I was a homeless man. My wife was the first person who was nice to me. I almost got kicked out of the small restaurant when I was trying to avoid a rain. She was there and pretended that we were meeting, so they'd let me stay. Got a free meal and we talked for a long time. She really helped turn my life around. Stuff like helping me fill out a job application. From there, we became good friends. 2 years after that, after getting my act together first thanks to her, I asked her out on a date. Her family never approved of our relationship because they thought I was trash due to how my life was when we met. Which again, I get it. But after 4 years of us being in a relationship, and me having the same steady full-time job to help with the bills for years, they didn't even come to the wedding. Then when my son was born a year after, they still wanted nothing to do with us. So we haven't had contact in years since my son was a baby. Now he's 16 and they contacted us out of the blue. They still don't care to talk to either me or my wife, but they were willing to put their feelings aside to get to know him. We never went into details with him about why we don't talk to them, and has never asked much before. We left the choice to him if he'd like to meet them, and he agreed to it. He's gone over to spend time in several locations the past 3 months. Finally, the other day, he asks us why we didn't keep contact with them. To him, they seemed like nice people, so he doesn't get what the conflict was. They told him we stopped talking over a conflict we had, but left out a part that they were the ones who didn't want to see us. So we told him the truth. My son already knows about my past, and that's something I never wanted to hide from him. We told him they never approved our relationship because I used to be homeless, and they never wanted to be part of our lives since then. He got mad at them, and they are now mad at us. My son doesn't want to talk to them, and they sent us screenshots of some of the things he told them. No insults or inappropriate language, but just what he thought of them. And they think we're a-holes because they were finally building a relationship with him and we ruined it. For now, my son says he doesn't want to be involved with people like that. We've talked to him several times. He still hasn't changed his mind. It was my choice to tell him why, and my wife supported that. Now with how things have turned out, I wonder if I was an a-hole like they seem to think I am. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Did the grandparents actually expect you to lie about the reason for the estrangement? Honestly, I would consider Opie and wife to be at fault if they didn't tell son the truth. They thought we just wouldn't have gone into details about what the conflict was. They probably haven't apologized, I'm guessing. And we ruined it. You didn't ruin anything. If simply saying what happened ruins their relationship, the saying part isn't the problem. Not stay home. Not stay home. You share the truth. If that reflects poorly on them, that's because they're a-holes. What a great story, by the way. So great that you were able to get on your feet, find love, and have a family. Not stay home. All you did was tell him the truth. They probably had their side of the story told too. He made his own decision after that. Also sounds like a Lifetime movie. You could probably sell the rights to your story and make some money. Next story. Am I the a-hole for calling my ex-husband and telling him that his wife forced our daughter to babysit? My 34 female ex-husband, 40 male, married a woman, 36 female with 4 children. 1 male, 11 female twins, and 14 male 6 years ago. We have a mutual daughter of 15, who has told me before how she tries to impose a relationship between her and her step-siblings. My daughter is a very introverted, shy girl. She's told me that her time together with the kids is usually watching movies or spending time with her dad, and that she doesn't like being left alone with them because she's too easily distracted. And they're always running and doesn't listen to her. But that her stepmom is always scolding her because that's not the type of relationship she wants them to have. Both my ex-husband and I've talked to her, and she is always insisting that as their older sister, she should be more involved with them, as in babysitting, diaper change, offering to wake up with the baby, and take care of him for an hour or 2. But my daughter doesn't feel comfortable with that kind of responsibility, and I get it. Not everyone is made to take care of babies. My daughter was invited to this party, more like a reunion, 5 to 10 people all vexed, during Sunday and was super excited about it. My ex and his wife had a wedding to attend that same day, so the plan was that they dropped the kids with her sister around 2 p.m. and my daughter with her friend after that. I thought that was what they did. Until around 5 p.m. when my daughter called me and told me that she left her with all the kids, and the baby needed his diaper changed and that she didn't know how to do it. She was crying and scared, so I drove there and took care of them. I called my ex and asked what his deal was, and he told me that my daughter said she didn't want to go to the party anymore. But my daughter told me that his wife forced her to say it's because she was done with her laziness. So she says she didn't deserve to have fun and had to work for it. He obviously got mad and drove back immediately. I left with my daughters when they arrived. He came back yesterday to apologize to my daughter. And apparently, he's thinking about divorce because she endangered all 5 kids. And now she's calling me an a-hole for babying my kid. Not an a-hole at all. Your ex's wife wants your daughter to provide free childcare while pretending she wants them to bond as siblings. That's why she is the a-hole. Exactly. Stepmom doesn't care about the daughter. She wants something for free. Maybe stepmom should get off her lazy butt and parent her kids. Not stay home. Not stay home. Your ex-husband's wife has a screw loose if she thinks her 15-year-old stepdaughter should get up in the middle of the night to take care of her infant. If she wants someone to mind her children, she can pay for a sitter or have her 14-year-old son help out. It doesn't matter what type of relationship her stepmother wants her to have with her children. That decision is your daughter's. At least you're able to communicate effectively with her father to try and resolve this problem. Right? Help wake up with a baby? Oh, hell no. I love my daughter and my god kids so much, but past them, I better be getting paid to wake up with other kids, and I'm 27. Not stay home. Do not under any circumstances allow your daughter to go back to that house while that woman lives there. At least your ex is on the same page as you. He can come to your place if he wants to see her. Good job getting her out of there. Not stay home. Parentification, which is what your ex's wife is doing to your daughter, is mistreatment of a child. Taking care of the baby overnight, changing its diaper, etc., is absolutely not a job of a 15-year-old. And a 15-year-old should definitely not be left alone with 4 kids. I'm assuming she's not insisting that her 14-year-old is also responsible for helping with babysitting / caring for his younger siblings. She absolutely endangered at least her baby, if not the rest of the kids, your daughter included, by leaving them alone without any adult supervision for at least 3 hours. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for saying my step and half siblings via my father have no right to be at my maternal family's Christmas? I lost my mom when I was 7. My dad is not technically married, but is in a long-term relationship and lives with this woman, Sandra, and her kids, 11 and 9, and my half-siblings, 6, 4, and 3. My dad and my mom's parents had a fight when he decided to move in with Sandra. He wanted my parents to become surrogate grandparents to Sandra's kids and treat us all the very same. They said no. They wanted time with their daughter's only child. That was special to said child, me. It ought to be babysitting someone else's kids. Then he and Sandra decided that if we all weren't treated equally, then they couldn't see me. My grandparents went to court and were granted grandparents' visitation rights. I get to spend December 26th with them every year. I get to see them one weekend a month. And they must be allowed time to celebrate my birthday within 2 weeks of my actual birthday per the court's orders. And I love it. This past year, Sandra's parents both died. My dad's parents were never around, so they were left without grandparents. Because of this, Sandra asked my grandparents to include the other kids in Christmas this year, since they are used to time with their grandparents. My grandparents said no. My dad asked them about a month after, and they said no again. Then about 3 weeks ago, they started piling the pressure on me to insist that the kids be included. They told me that after losing the only grandparents they ever knew, they deserve to be shown love and acceptance by people they know exist and who their big sister has as grandparents. I told them I would not ask. About a week later, Sandra told me the kids have a right to be treated like they belong. I told her that her kids have no right to attend my maternal family's Christmas, that they are not part of that side of my family, and they are not mine or their responsibility. I was called an insensitive a-hole for talking about the kids the way I did. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your father and his partner are extremely entitled, and I understand your maternal grandparents completely. They have no obligations whatsoever towards your father and his new family. Literally none. And your father and his partner should not be pressuring you either. This is just ridiculous. I feel sorry for your maternal grandparents. Opie's parents aren't only entitled, but also cruel, manipulative jerks. They try to hold Opie hostage from her grandparents after her mom died. That is just twisted. I don't blame the grandparents for telling the dad and his girlfriend to buzz off. The grandparents love Opie. She's their grandchild. They had to go to court to even be able to see her thanks to Opie's dad. They don't know them other kids, and I'm pretty sure they aren't fond of Opie's dad or his girlfriend for being a-holes to them. I don't get why these two adults are trying to force kids onto people who don't know them. I don't want them. You can't force people to be grandparents because they are older and present. Not the a-hole, but your father and his wife sure are. How dare they try to force a relationship upon your grandparents that they didn't want? I love the fact that they whipped his butt in court for grandparents' visitation. Opie's dad and his lady aren't even married. Not that it makes a difference. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay stepkids' medical bills? My husband and I are in a conundrum. His ex-wife has custody of his 3 older children. Per court-ordered parenting plan, we are required to provide health insurance for the kiddos. We do, and she has the information. She is required to attempt to use all insurance available, even if it means the kids see different providers, while we are required to pay half of all uninsured costs. She actively refuses to use our provided insurance because it's provided through my employer. She chooses to use her own. It racks up these massive medical bills and expects us to pay half. After paying for 2 medical bills, we have told her we will no longer be paying half unless she attempts to use our health insurance, per the court order. We are not required to pay if she chooses to not use our insurance. She's hot pissed that we won't pay and is bad-mouthing us to the kids, saying we are deadbeats and Dad doesn't care about them, that he cares about our child. We have an 18-month-old together. When we told her we will no longer pay, we provided her with information for providers that accept our insurance in her area. They live in a rural area, so she could easily contact them and get the kids in. They also live less than an hour away from a giant medical campus that only accepts our insurance, and they come up to it all the time to go shopping, so her excuse that it's too far away doesn't hold water. Example of bill we have paid. Middle child had a strep test. Cost before insurance was $400. Mom's insurance paid $200, so we have to split the difference at $100. If she had used our insurance, the bill would have been $0. Are we the a-holes? I feel like we are a little bit, but we also don't feel like shelling out money we don't have to pay bills she is choosing to incur, and we aren't required to, per the court order. Not the a-hole. You have excellent insurance that will avoid medical debt and provides completely for the children. She's putting her pettiness above the children's needs. I would go to the court and explain this, and that her cost would literally be zero as well, and that she's refusing to go with the best option because of her feelings towards you. She's free to go back to court and ask for a modification to the court order, although I doubt very much she'd like the actual outcome if she did so. Also, telling the children a bunch of demonstrably untrue things in order to poison their relationship with you is something the courts would frown upon when you bring it to their attention. And also, why not use both? My son for a while was covered by 2 insurance plans, and his medical providers already knew what to submit to who in what order, which seems rather obvious, since it increases their likelihood of getting fully paid. I'd be prepared to go back to court on the grounds of parental alienation, not stay home. This isn't a question of AITA. There is a court order, and you are merely following it. I suppose in context, not stay home, but these arguments are what the court order is for. That's what we said. But whenever we have tried to enforce the court order in the past, she throws it back on us, accusing us of starting drama and being a-holes. So at this point, we keep telling ourselves we are doing what is legally required, but she keeps throwing it in our faces. We just tell her required per the court order, and she just can't seem to understand those words. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my mom about a message her boyfriend sent me? For context, I, 20 female, received a text late last night from my mom's, 57 female, boyfriend, 53 male. They've been together for a few months and mostly it's been good, but there have been a few fights here and there. For example, a month or so ago, he was making jabs about my mom's weight, and that really hurt her feelings, and frankly, really pissed me off. But he apologized, and we moved past it. Or so I thought. The other morning, they were arguing before they went to work, and I asked her later that day when she got home what the argument was about. She told me he had gone through her phone, and that really upset her because it was a breach of trust. I understood and I left it at that. However, last night he sent me a message around midnight out of the blue. It was pretty long and kind of convoluted, but it basically said that while he was surprised my mom was a BBW when they first met because her photos were so beautiful, he's grown to love her as a person, inside and out, the more he's got to know her. Already a weird start, but bear with me. He then went on to say that he needed me to know the truth, and that my mom was actually cheating on him, and that I loved her, but didn't trust her. Now for today and the reason I'm asking if I'm the a-hole. This morning I showed my mom the message, and she got really angry and showed me proof that he was lying, and that I went through her phone for 5 hours straight while she was asleep, and found nothing but messages to an old hookup from 6 months ago, before they got together. He then pretended to be my mom to this guy and see if he could get info out of him, which was really weird in my opinion. But also, he got nothing. She ended up breaking up with him for trying to come between us and lying to me about her. But I don't know if I was out of line for telling my mom, or potentially being the catalyst to their breakup, even if he was lying. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I forgot to mention that in the message, he also brought up his erectile dysfunction, and that maybe if he was able to have intimacy with her, that she wouldn't have looked elsewhere. Which she didn't. And also, your dysfunction is none of my business. Not an a-hole, and congratulations to your mom for kicking the clown out of her life. Oh my god, this post made my skin crawl. I'm so glad mom kicked this dude to the curb and didn't try to pin any blame on Opie. Dude is creepy, and his relationship would have been a crap show. You did the right thing. Why on earth wouldn't you show her these inappropriate and bizarre messages? She's your mother. It is a little better than a stranger. Well done for helping her see the horrible truth about it. Thank you. That's what I thought too. My first instinct was that it was strange to be including me in the first place. That's classic early stage mistreatment. He was trying to isolate your mother from her support system. Several classic red flags in your story. A lot of people would have distanced themselves from the awkwardness. Once the isolation succeeds, violence usually follows. Your quick thinking and loyalty did a real good deed. Not all heroes wear capes. Am I the a-hole for revealing my parents' lifestyle to my grandparents? About 4 weeks ago, I started noticing strange looks from certain acquaintances during my lectures or when I was in the dining hall. Soon, I got a text from a good friend saying he was sorry for what I was going through. I was genuinely confused about what he was talking about. After further questioning, he told me that a mutual acquaintance of ours had been bragging about hooking up with an older woman and had shared some lewd pics. One of our friends recognized the woman as my mother. At first, I didn't believe it. I thought he was messing with me. I even joked back, saying, "Pics for it didn't happen," expecting him to clap back. Instead, he sent a photo, and it really was my mother. I was completely traumatized when I saw the picture and felt sick. I didn't know how to bring it up to my parents, wondering if my mom was cheating on my dad. Since I live with them, I decided to bring it up the next day by calling a family meeting. I didn't want to do this, but I felt my dad needed to know and confront my mother. When I mentioned it to my parents, their reaction caught me off guard. They both looked shocked and ashamed. My dad couldn't meet my eyes, and my mom was covering her face and crying. The truth was something I wasn't ready to hear and honestly wish wasn't true. Apparently, my parents are swingers. They hook up with people outside their marriage. My dad was well aware that my mom had hooked up with an acquaintance of mine. I admit I got belligerent. I cursed at them, told them my mom was disgusting for hooking up with someone around my age, and said she was selfish for risking hooking up with a potential peer of mine without considering the repercussions on me. She tried to defend herself, saying she only knew he went to the same college but didn't realize he was in my circle or would share those photos. I told her that was a pathetic excuse and that she had still been willing to take the risk. Then she started sobbing terribly. My parents keep trying to apologize, but I tell them to go to hell. I can't have dinner with them or look them in the eye, and I can hear them cry at night. It's been incredibly hard to go to school, and I've been missing lectures, self-studying whenever I can. I decided to share what was going on with my grandparents. They're allowing me to move in with them so I can attend community college in another state. This didn't happen without my grandparents berating my parents though. Now my parents are upset with me getting my grandparents involved. Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. Your parents are human. Humans are horny. It sounds like you grew up in a place that likes to shame people getting their freak on. It's not fair for me to suffer due to them getting their freak on. How are you suffering? Are people making fun of you? Do they throw rocks when you go by? Or is it the very knowledge that someone at your college has boinked your parent? Your disgust is your own reaction, and it's clear that your parents had no malicious intent. Yeah, I am being made fun of. People who I don't even know are asking me if my mom is available. Hey, I just want to take a second and reframe this situation here. Someone had intimate media of your mom and shared it without her consent. That's heinous and a serious breach of her privacy. That's also a crime in many jurisdictions. Your mom was seriously wronged here, and you've managed to make this all about yourself. The guy is a complete piece of trash for doing that. I can be sympathetic on that part, while being upset with my parents getting involved in a situation that would affect the entire family. My mother knew beforehand that this a-hole was not only around my age, but went to the same college as me. That should have been more than enough to steer clear away from him. To all the YTA voters, how would you feel if you're living your life and thinking everything is going nicely, then you notice people looking at you weird? You're getting the feeling like you did something wrong. Then your classmate/friend tells you that a mutual friend has slept with your mom, and pictures were involved. And you see the pictures. Your current reality is now shattered, and when confronting your parents, they tell you they're swingers, living a mutual lifestyle that also overlaps with your friend base and classmates. And you had no knowledge of what was happening. Don't tell me you wouldn't have been disgusted and traumatized. I call bull. Haven't we seen stories like this, where the child always finds out in the most egregious way and it never works out? If OP is younger than 21, I'd say their reaction is very valid. If OP is over the age of 21, maybe they should have approached their parents without guns blazing. Either way, the parents should have kept their child in the dark, especially when one of them is getting involved with their peers. I'm torn between everyone sucks here but leaning towards not the a-hole. Thank God someone agrees, lol. How the heck are so many people slating this kid? His mom slept with his classmate and knew they go to the same college. WTF? Swing all you want, but there has to be precautions taken. And it sounds like they were selfish enough to let their horniness get in the way of their own kid's life. Next story. Am I the a-hole for immediately donating the gifts my stepmother bought for my children? I, 34 female, have no contact with my stepmother, Mary. Long story, not worth explaining. It's been 5 years since I cut her off from my and my family's lives. As such, she hasn't seen my son, 8 male, since he was 3, and she has never met my daughter, 4 female. Throughout the years, she has tried to contact me and my kids several times. My father used to help her sometimes and tell me how awful she felt, how much she wanted to meet my daughter, and that the kids needed their grandma. I've never considered her a grandparent, as both my mother and mother-in-law are active in their lives. After several arguments, my father apologized and stopped assisting her, but Mary still tries to get in touch with me every now and then. I always state I have no interest in seeing her or allowing her to be a part of my children's lives. My son's birthday was in September. That day, when neither of my kids were home, a large box was delivered to our building. I opened it to find more than a dozen new toys for my children, along with a note that read, "Grandma Mary loves you both." As I later found out, she had bought the toys on a recent trip to the US. I couldn't think of this as anything besides a manipulation tactic. My children are barely aware that she exists, so why would she send them both a box full of toys on my son's birthday? I also think she planned a delivery for a time she thought the kids would be home, so they'd see the toys immediately. Either way, my husband and I decided not to keep any of the toys. We donated them all throughout October, and the kids never saw any of them. Last week, my father called me. He said Mary had just told him about the toys and wanted to know whether the kids liked them. I told him the truth, and we had an argument. My father called me cruel and ungrateful for what I did. He said he understands that Mary and I don't get along, but she still cared enough to spend hundreds of dollars on a loving gesture for my children, and the least I could have done was let them know about it. I honestly couldn't imagine keeping those toys, but I'd be lying if I said the amount of money spent on them didn't make me feel guilty. Am I the a-hole? I mean, I do kind of want to know the story. Lol. Of course not the a-hole. No contact means no contact. You didn't ask her to spend money on gifts that shouldn't have been sent. Several fights later, my father apologized and stopped assisting her, but Mary still tries to get in touch with me every now and then. There must be a good reason why she went no contact. Even her father apologized to OP until now. Either he thought everything would cool down and he will have his family together, or Mary's manipulating him so bad. Anyway, OP is not the a-hole. She turned a disgusting action into a good one. She did the right thing in both ways. Not the a-hole, not the a-hole, not the a-hole. Mary knew exactly what she was doing, as she's been doing this stuff for at least 5 years. What you decided to do with the toys a stranger attempted to give your children was to donate them back to people in need. Some might throw them away, but you put the toys to good use. It might be time to go low contact with your dad if he can't respect your boundaries as well. No contact with your stepmom. Tell your father if her behavior does not stop immediately, then you'll have to reconsider how much contact you'll have with him. Keep protecting your children. I used to be low contact with my father. When I cut contact with Mary, she spent a few months trying to use him as a messenger. He's since agreed to stop, and our relationship has been improving. But I do intend to proceed with caution if he can't sort this out. She's also had her mother call me to tell me off 3 times, and her brother once. I've blocked them both. He since agreed to stop. Oh honey, if you think for an instant he didn't know that box was coming and went along with the manipulation, I'm sorry to break it to you, but he's still Team Mary through and through. He said he didn't know about the toys until Mary told him. I think she expected a thank you note or something. I'm not sure I believe that, but that's not really what I'm concerned about right now. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my mom come to my wedding after she ignored me my whole life? I, 26 male, am getting married to my fiancée, let's call her Sarah, 25 female, in a few months. And I'm super excited about it. But there's one big issue with all the planning. My mom. A little background. My parents divorced when I was 8, and my mom, let's call her Layla, remarried pretty quickly after that. She married this guy Dave who had 2 kids of his own. Ever since, it's like I was no longer a priority in her life. She focused all her attention on Dave and his kids. I'm not exaggerating when I say she treated them way better than me. They'd go on trips, should go to all their sports events, and they'd get everything they wanted. Meanwhile, I felt like I was invisible. She didn't ask about my school, didn't care about my friends or even my mental health. I started to feel like I wasn't even her kid anymore. When I turned 18, I moved out. I thought maybe she'd care and try to stay in touch, but nope, she didn't. I'll text her once in a while just to check in, and she'd either not respond or say she was busy with Dave and his kids. I figured if she didn't care, why should I? So, I just stopped trying to reach out. Fast forward to now. I'm planning my wedding and out of nowhere, my mom starts texting me like we're super close. She wants to know all the details, saying how excited she is and even saying things like, "I can't wait to see you start this new chapter." Like, seriously? I haven't heard from her in years, and now she expects to be front and center at my wedding? I told her straight up that I didn't want her there. I said I'm not comfortable with her coming after everything that's happened, and that if she really wants to have a relationship, we can talk about it after the wedding, but not before. She started crying, saying I'm holding a grudge and that I'm her son and she deserves to be there. But I don't know how I'm supposed to just forget the fact she ignored me my whole childhood in favor of Dave's kids. Now my family is split. Some of them think I'm right and that I shouldn't just let her show up when she never showed up for me. Others think I should just let it go, saying it's just one day and that I should let her come to the wedding to keep the peace. So, am I the a-hole for not letting my mom come to my wedding after everything that happened? She started crying and saying I'm holding a grudge and that I'm her son and she deserves to be there. And you're her son who deserved to have a mother that cared and prioritized you at least occasionally. But here you are. You're well within your rights to hold that grudge until you feel comfortable letting her back into your life, which is not now. Others think I should just let it go and it's just one day, and that I should let her come to the wedding to keep the peace. I hate this sentiment with a passion. What peace? You would not be at peace if you had your mom at your wedding. Childhood neglect is not something you forgive and forget for most people, especially when you've come to terms with not having a relationship with your parent. She doesn't get to waltz back in to ruin what's supposed to be one of the happiest days of your life. Not the a-hole. I'm with you. I absolutely hate the phrase, apologize to keep the peace. It's only ever said to the one in the right. So she must have some sort of flying monkeys among the people you are in touch with. Do you have any idea who? Someone has been keeping her abreast of developments, or she wouldn't know anything about it. I'd be tempted to be as brutal as necessary. Tell anyone who raises the topic, I am not interested in granting her any kind of a redemption arc. I have learned how to live without her in my life, and she without me. I have every intention of keeping it that way. The subject is closed. I think we all can guess what will happen. Mom will show up, act like Mother of the Year, and try and take control of everything like planning. And demand a bunch of Mother of the Groom stuff like dance, etc. Get her pictures and then she will vanish again. She will post her pictures on social media or show them to everyone, of course those she's in, and get all her back pats. Oh, you are such a wonderful mother. And then she'll throw those pictures in a drawer and forget OP all over again. And the only moment she might pop up is if there's a grandchild so she can get even more back pats from people. Last story. Am I the a-hole for leaving my fiancé without telling him? To be honest, I don't know where to start. I just need a place to rant because too much is going through my head at once. I've been engaged for 3 months, and because weddings take time to plan, my partner and I decided to have it in December. But I don't think that's happening anymore. My fiancé, 29 male, and I, 28 female, have been together for 4 years, and earlier this year, he wanted to tie the knot. My fiancé has a daughter, 7, and I've been very involved in her life. She would call me Mom and see me as a mother figure since her own mother hasn't made much time for her. Her mom is still around, but often fails to pick her up or spend time with her when she's supposed to. I guess I should have known what I was getting into. My fiancé and the mother of his child were not good at co-parenting, which led to their daughter developing separation anxiety. I was often the one to step in and help her calm down. From my perspective, I thought my fiancé and the mother of his child hated each other. But I was wrong. The whole time, he was sneaking behind my back to be with her. I found text messages and videos of them together. It was a betrayal, especially considering I was the one trying to help them figure out their parenting issues. There was nothing I could have done to prevent it. When I found out, he was in the bathroom, and that night he just kept getting so many messages and calls. I now call myself the a-hole for looking through his phone, but the calls and messages were from his ex, and they were very explicit, as if they were a married couple. At this point, there's no reason to go through with the wedding. It's not good for my mental health. I know in my heart that this isn't something I can just sit around and accept quietly. While he was still in the shower, I had enough time to leave and go to my mom's. I was almost hyperventilating from the shock. It's so bad that I'm not in a mental state to talk to anyone. My friends are worried, but I don't even want to talk to them. Since last night, I've been getting texts from my fiancé and his daughter asking where I am. I still have to go back to get my things with my brother, but he wants me to calm down first. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole for not marrying him, but personally, I would have printed off screenshots and left them for him to find. Either way, he'll figure it out. Maybe OP should go back when he's at work or something to get her stuff and leave the screenshots on the table, if she could still get access to them. Not the a-hole. I feel sorry for you and this little girl. He and his ex are both a-holes. I don't understand co-parents like this. If you can't stand each other, then why continue sleeping together? Even if they are single, that just makes no sense to me. Not the a-hole. What you did was self-preservation. You needed to protect yourself. It's normal to feel regret for the daughter, but you should never marry this man. If he betrays you before marriage, it will only escalate. Take care of yourself, OP.